Okay, so here we are looking at the White Industries Freewheel, and today I'm going to show you how to service it and disassemble it and replace any parts if required. So the easiest way to remove the outer lock ring is if you have your freewheel still attached to your bike wheel. Here I have a jig in the vise just to anchor the freewheel so that I can remove the outer ring. Using a pin spanner, you can see there's two little divots in the top of the lock ring. We just undo the top of the lock ring. Once it's unlocked, you can generally spin that out with your fingers and remove it. At this point, the actual outer carrier will lift off fairly easily, and there's a inner snap ring that can be removed if you need to replace the inner bearing. At the bottom you can see here we've got our lower seal, a little O-ring at the top to keep the dust and water out, and our pawls. You can at this stage actually slide the pawls out, lift them out, and the pawl springs if you want to clean them out, if you've been doing any wet riding at all or anything like that. If you're completely disassembling the freewheel using your freewheel tool, you can remove the freewheel from your wheel to clean out all the pawls if required. So the upper O-ring, which seals on the bearing, is removable. Each pawl can be pulled out, and also each pawl spring for cleaning and re-lubrication. And you can also take out the snap ring that retains the bearing, which also allows you to push out the bearing if required to replace it. And there we have a completely disassembled Eno freewheel from White Industries. Okay, so now it's reassembly time. So we'll grab the inner carrier here, and first thing we need to do is reinstall the pawls. So the first thing we do with this is take one of the pawl springs, drop that into the left side of the slot, and then grab one of your pawls, ensuring that the tooth is in the right direction, the sharp edge pointing out. Push down on the pawl spring and then drop your pawl in on top of that. It's a good idea to use a little bit of either light machine oil or grease on the pawl springs and on the pawls themselves, just to ensure that there's no chance of corrosion and that everything runs nice and smoothly. So work your way around, dropping all the pawls back in. Okay, so we have all our pawls back in place now, as you can see. So I'm going to grab the outer carrier. The first thing I want to do is install the bearing. So just a small amount of grease, which I'm going to smear all the way around, just to ensure that it's nice and easy to push the bearing back in. Whether it's a new bearing or old, that's always good practice. And new bearing should just push it all the way in by hand. Our circlip then goes in next. Again, just pushes in quite easily by hand, and then all we need to do is join the outer and inner carriers. So on the inner carrier here, the last thing to go on is our O-ring, just to stop the dirt and grit getting in there. And again, a little bit of grease on the O-ring, just to ensure nice and easy assembly, just all the way around. And similarly, I'm going to get a little bit of grease and wipe that on the inside race of the bearing, just to ensure where that slips over the O-ring, it slips over nice and easily. So the inner carrier and outer carrier slips together fairly easily. It's just a matter of turning it, and that should slip past the O-ring. Second last thing is the outer lock ring. We'll put that on and slowly spin that on by hand. It'll just thread back on fairly easily. And then just in the back we have the last thing, which is our outer O-ring. So that just clips into the outer housing. Just got to push that in all the way around. And then the last thing I need to do, I'm just going to reinstall the freewheel back on our jig, is to tighten that outer lock ring. So not super tight, it's just snug, and we're all done. That's all serviced and ready to use again.